Blox Fruits is one of the biggest Roblox games ever made, and I've never played it. So today, I'm gonna spend the next 50 hours straight playing the game. My goal, go from a noob to pro at Blox Fruits. Alright, here we are, and I think I'm gonna select pirates. I don't think it actually matters, but I'll just do pirates. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm actually 2 hours into this challenge already, which seems confusing, but that's because I genuinely know nothing about this game, so I had to watch a few starter guides, because I don't know what to do. And from my basic understanding, we go here, do some quests, and then we should be able to move on to like a new world or something. So I think I'm just gonna keep grinding these quests, and after a little bit, I'll kind of catch up, and if I get confused, I'll catch up with you guys again. Right away, I went to the bandit quest giver and started defeating bandits over and over again. Since this was my first time, I was also getting used to the overall movements and how to use my combat specials. I also was putting all my upgrade points into melee, since apparently that was just the best. And eventually, after a few minutes, we were already off to the jungle where I purchased a boat so I can get to it. And I was actually struggling a bit already. The bandits were easy, but I was actually losing health to the monkeys. But I kept going through, and by the time I got to the grills, I was struggling even more. So once I got the melee to 50, I started spending some points on defense as well. Now, I don't know if that would actually help, but I just went forward with it, and we were doing fine. And eventually we beat the Gorilla King with the help of another player. And before moving on, I had something to do. Alright, I've been playing for like 30 minutes now, and I think I can move on past the jungle thing, but in the tutorials that I watch, like the beginner's guide, apparently there's like buttons around the jungle that I have to click, and it's important for something. I'm gonna be real with you. I have no idea what's the point of all that, but I'm just gonna click all the buttons, go around. I think there's like 5 of them or 6 of them, and then I'm gonna move on to the next island. I then realized I actually needed level 30, so I did a few more quests, defeated the Gorilla King again, which I struggled a lot with, but eventually got it done, and we were off to our next island. But it wouldn't be that easy. While I was on the boat, I kept getting targeted by other players, and they kept killing me. Eventually we were on our way, but the 2 players kept following me, but they couldn't kill me since I had PvP disabled by now. And the whole time, I'm not gonna lie, I thought the guys were wanting to kill me and they were evil, but I couldn't be more wrong, because all they wanted to do was help me. And when I got to the island, they offered me a magma fruit, which I took and then I ate it, and they kinda explained to me what it was and how it worked, and the general mechanics of fruits in the game, which was very helpful. And now with this magma, I had magma effects, and going forward, I was working towards upgrading the magma overall as well, which was very good, and this will actually become crucial later. And after farming pirates, we eventually moved on to brutes, and this is where I ran into a bit of a problem. Alright, I've been playing for like 2 hours now, or a little bit over 2 hours now, and we're doing fine. I think like it's slowed down a lot when I came to this island, and at this point is typically where I start AFKing, but I actually don't know how to do that. So I put a tweet asking, and apparently, since I have the magma thing, apparently these people, since they don't have like thing, I can, yeah, look, I'm not taking health damage here. So I think I can just sit here and then use like an auto clicker to spam Z. I saw a lot of people say that do it in a private server, because as you guys saw in the footage, after like 10 minutes, everyone just keeps attacking me and stuff, I guess because I'm low level. Here's the thing. I always try doing these challenges for free, no matter what. And I mean, technically I could do this in a public server, but I'm just going to end up using a private server, and I'm actually going to use the Robux from the 7-day challenge that we did in Please Donate. So technically I'm still not spending any money. All the Robux I have in this account is free. Alright, I was AFK for way longer than expected, I'm not gonna lie. I was AFK for like 6 hours or something like that, so we're 10 hours-ish into the challenge by now. But there's a lot to break down. Number 1, there's a gift here. I don't know if that means we got a gift. Oh no, it doesn't, never mind. But we have 45 items. I don't know if any of this can be good. I'm just gonna put it all into melee, I think. 37 scrap metal, 36 leather, not bad I guess. And we're also up to 130,000 and level 58, which I think is actually decent. And now I'm just gonna grind for the next few hours, and when I go to sleep I'm gonna AFK overnight, so that should be pretty interesting. Right away I went to fight the boss for the island and once again struggled. I don't know if my player was too weak or if I'm doing something wrong, but after dying over and over again, eventually we killed him and we were off to the next island, being the desert, where we did more of the same, grinding quest after quest, killing bandit after bandit, and using all upgrade points on melee and sometimes defense. And eventually after a while, we moved on to the next stage of quest, which was taking a long time, but throughout all of this, it wasn't actually that bad since they couldn't do damage to us, all thanks to the person who gave us the fruit at the beginning, just doing quest after quest, getting XP. And at one point I saw a sword dealer, and I ended up buying the triple katana for $60,000. I was hoping it was going to be OP and do more damage in my fist, but it wasn't actually that good. I did try upgrading it, but even then it wasn't that good, so I didn't really use it since it felt like a waste of time. And eventually after completing more quests, we finally reached the boss for the island, which once again was a huge struggle. Death after death, but eventually we did kill the Yeti. And after playing for like 2 hours now, we're on to another island where we approach the end of the day. And this is where I started AFKing overnight, while I slept. We're about 19 hours into the challenge now, which is pretty crazy. So before going AFK, I think we had like 330,000, now we're over to 560,000, which doesn't seem like that much. But we were level 120, now we're level 170, which is insane. How much do we have? 144. I think I'm going to put it all into melee and then maybe some in defense. Or maybe I should do, I don't know if Blox Fruits upgrades this fruit that I'm using. Alright, there we go. I kind of just went through and did it. I got this to 50, got this to 100, and now this almost at 350, which is good. Right away, I was off to the next island, which honestly, in my opinion, was the most annoying island so far, just for the way everything was laid out. I kept going up and down and falling over and over again, but besides that, it was the same deal. You know how it works by now. I fought Sky Bandits for like 20 minutes, which was fine, but then the Dark Master started doing damage to me. And at this point, I actually went back to farming Sky Bandits, and eventually around level 180 I tried again. And this time they didn't do damage to me. I started to realize and remember how my fruit worked. I had to be a higher level than them so they can't attack me. I then farmed these guys for another 20 minutes, and finally after about an hour now we hit level 190 and we're off to the next island, the prison. And once again the prisoners did damage to me right away, but after getting like 3 levels above them, they couldn't do damage to me anymore. I also kept upgrading my melee at this point, which to be honest I have no idea if that was the right thing to do. I just kept doing it though. And then after a few we moved of dangerous prisoners, and we just kept doing the same thing over and over again. And then came my first boss fight in the Warden, which I had no idea what I was doing wrong, but I kept dying over and over again, and I eventually defeated him, but it definitely was not the best way. I then farmed more dangerous prisoners, and it came time for our next boss fight, the Chief Warden. And again, it was the same story. I just kept dying over and over again, doing a few damage every time, and I eventually killed him. And then we were off to our next island being the Coliseum, where after playing for a few hours now, I decided to do our first AFK of the day. Alright, I've been AFK for a few hours now, and with that we actually crossed over the 24-hour mark. We're about 25 hours in now. We got 27 stats, up to level 260, not that bad. And once again, I'm just going to put everything into melee, because I think that's the best. I don't know. I want to do more stuff with the Blox Fruit, but I don't know if that means it's going to upgrade this. I don't know, so melee is just going to do for now. And with that, you know how this works by now. I'm just gonna grind for the next few hours and I'll catch up back with you again. And by this point, I can't lie to you, it was where I started to get sick of the game. After playing hour after hour and consuming this game for the past 24 hours now, I was kind of bored, especially since it felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again. But I still kept grinding, and eventually to switch it up, I went on an adventure. And I went back to starting island and bought a weapon. And at this point, I actually also realized I missed a crucial part of the game. On the flying island, there's actually a mad scientist, which gives you new combat in the form of electricity. So I headed there and spent $500,000 on the electric style, and now I felt a breath of fresh air since I was working to something else, upgrading my electric abilities and stuff. And then I kept farming and eventually moved on to gladiators, which I just farmed over and over again as per usual. And at one point we got electric up to 100 fairly quickly, and I had 2 new special moves or whatever they're called. Then after grinding for over an hour now, we're off to the next island, which for some reason the boat didn't work, so I had to get the boat from another island. But besides that, we arrived at the magma village, and this is where I made a huge mistake. See, as I mentioned, I was getting tired of the game, but I was still playing for over an hour. So now my plan that I was on to the next island was that I was going to AFK for a few hours, come back and grind for a few hours, and then AFK overnight. But I didn't realize that I couldn't actually AFK here. It worked at first, but let me explain what happened. See, on the island, the soldiers can spawn with aura or without aura, which I didn't know at the time. And the soldiers that have like these back gloves have aura. And what aura means is that no matter my level or my fruit, they can still attack me. So what happened here was that when I started my AFK, I was fighting soldiers with aura, and I thought everything was fine and worked normal as per usual. But then later, without me knowing, a soldier with aura spawned and killed me, meaning that I was AFK for hour after hour after hour with zero progress being made. And I literally had no clue until I came back. Alright, I just came back from AFKing and I already realized the huge mistake I made. But basically, you guys can see here that I actually went up 2 levels, and that's because when I was AFKing, I checked like a little bit a few minutes after, and I was taking damage. So then I went up a few more levels, and then I went back and I wasn't taking damage anymore. So I thought, oh, that was it. Maybe I messed up before, didn't get the best level. But as we can see, that didn't really work out, and we just wasted so much time. I think I'm at the 33 hour mark now, but it's already near the end of the day. So I only have like an hour or so now left to actually just play, because I was AFK for longer this time, because I thought maybe I can just go through this island quickly if I AFK. With that all being said though, I really have to start grinding now. I have like an hour or 2 left before the day ends. I'm going to try getting through this island and then AFK overnight, and I'll make sure it's proper this time. Like I said, I had about like an hour now, which I thought was enough time to beat the island, but well, it wasn't really. But before that, after a little bit, I discovered the ability teacher, and I ended up buying all the abilities from him: high jump, aura, and flash step. And after this, I felt like I was moving differently, but it's probably just in my head. And after grinding for over 30 minutes now, I moved to military spies, so I came to farm for the next 40 minutes. I was over an hour now, and I thought I was getting close, but after looking it up, I needed level 375, and I only got to level 343 after like over an hour now. And this is where I made a bit of a controversial decision. See, I wanted to AFK overnight, but I didn't have enough time to grind on the island and complete it, so I went back to the Coliseum. But hear me out first. Just for a comparison, the Magma Soldiers gave me $365 and like 16.3k XP. The Gladiators, on the other hand, gave me $363 and 14.2k XP. So obviously it's worse, but not that bad, and it's better than nothing, so I did it. Alright, I just woke up, and this AFK actually seemed to go really well. We're at level, what, 360 almost? So we didn't beat the magma thing, but we're close enough. We got 50 upgrade points, which is decent. Once again, putting it all into melee. And I don't actually think that was that bad. It was definitely a better decision than just not doing anything. But with that being said, we're on the final day of the challenge. I think we're like 40 hours in or like 39 hours in now. So it's the final stretch. I'm just going to grind for the next few hours. Probably AFK one more time, grind AFK one more time, and then we should be at the 50-hour mark in about 10-ish hours or so. And I want to see how far we can get, because to be honest, for 50 hours, I don't even know if we're doing that good, but you have to keep in mind, I'm playing for 50 hours straight, so there's a lot of AFK because I actually have to, you know, live my life. But with that being said, I'm going to keep grinding and I'll catch up with you again. I right away traveled back to the Magma Village and was back to it, farming military spy after military spy, and eventually I was high enough level to fight the boss. And I think you know how I went by now. I kept dying over and over again until I eventually killed him. However, this time he actually did regain health after a little bit, so it was a struggle, but I eventually did it. It didn't even seem that worth it in the end though, so for the rest of the time I spent farming military spies, and finally after 30 more minutes, I reached level 375 and was off to the underwater city, where right away the warriors are damaged to me, and I realized I now have to be 5 levels higher than them for them not to damage me. And eventually I actually discovered there's a new fighting style here. It felt a bit late to start it, but I still did it anyways, and spent $750,000 on it, but we already had 2 million, so it wasn't that bad. I then tested out my ability for a bit, which wasn't that hard to upgrade, and to upgrade it further and hopefully gain more levels, this is where I started the first AFK of the day. Alright, we've been AFK for a bit. It didn't really go that well. 421. I was hoping to be up at like at least 430, but it doesn't really matter. There's like 2-ish hours left in the challenge, I think, or less. And I think if I just complete this island, that's going to be the end of the 50-hour challenge. So I'm just going to keep grinding this. I think we need level 450 or higher. And then that's it. That's the challenge. We'll see. I'll catch up with you then. And this was it, the final few hours. I farmed more enemies until I got to the boss, and this time for once I didn't struggle with the boss. And that's because you can actually just fight him from behind the window and not take damage. I learned that from the starter guides I watched at the beginning. And then it was more of the same, farming commandos, leveling up, you know the deal by now. And eventually I did fight another boss, which at first I did try fighting normally, but then did the wither technique. And this time when I killed him I actually tried it. Which I tried it for a little bit, but ended up not using it because I was this late on and it felt like there's no point of focusing on upgrading it. And finally after another hour or so we beat the island. And with it the clock also ticked down and the 50 hours came to a close. Alright ladies and gentlemen, we just hit the 50-hour mark. I think it's actually a little bit over 50 hours because I wanted to complete the island, but forget about that. And I mean, for 50 hours, I don't think it's that bad. You have to keep in mind, these challenges are 50 hours straight, so I spent a lot of time AFKing. But I did play Roblox for hours and hours on end, more Roblox than I've probably ever played in the last few years, and I don't think it actually went that bad. $1.7 million to end off with, level 455, we're on whatever this island is. These are the stats, which are fine. We got some pretty alright items, and you know, we got the magma and everything. And overall, like, did I go from noob to pro? No, let's be real, I didn't. However, a big reason for this video was that I just wanted to learn more about Blox Fruits and see what the game is really about. Because I feel like Blox Fruits is one of the biggest games, #1, but also it's the most hated game. And I've been a product of that. I feel like, oh, I see the game as an anime game and I kind of write it off. But from this experience, I kind of learned that the game's not that bad. It's actually pretty fun. It does get a bit repetitive at times, but to be fair, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I didn't really go from noob to pro, but I did get a better understanding of the game. And I've actually had this video idea for a long time, but I've always been putting it off because I thought the game was too complicated and too annoying to learn, but I realized that it's better to just throw yourself into these situations and kind of just learn from there, or else you'll probably never get started. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe if you enjoyed.